Hey, good evening. It's Thursday, January 5th. My name is Eamon Hotep Parker, and welcome to Urban Facts. Today, we'll be interviewing, where is it at there? Dr. Asante. He is the department chair of the African American Studies Department at Temple University. Very educated in Africana studies and the worldview in regards to African American people. So we definitely will be, having a discussion with him in regards to, the importance of culture for inner city youth. Just a little news today. Um, the the House of Representatives is unfortunately, I guess, without a speaker because I don't really even know what to call this guy, Kevin McCarthy. I mean, that's his name, but it should be humiliated McCarthy because he's already at, let me see, vote number 10, and he's lost that one also. So apparently, to be the Speaker of the House, you need 218. Kevin can't even get past 200. He was good with 201, but I guess nobody's really trying to, believe or back an insurrectionist. So I guess whatever you do, the dirt comes back around to you, huh? Um, it's the 1 year anniversary of the deadly Fairmount fire that killed 12 people, including 9 children. Excuse me. Uh, Devin Chandler, Deshaun Perry, Lavelle Davis, killed by, no, that's something else. So disregard that. So it's just the 10th year anniversary of the Fairmount Park fire. So we definitely are sending our condolences to the families that were affected by that fire. Damar Hamlin is wake, and his first intention, his first question was, "Did we win the game?" um, he was the safety for the Buffalo Bills. He got hurt tackling somebody else. Came to his feet. Had a problem with his heart. Immediately collapsed, and he was performed CPR right there on the scene. And excuse me, right there on the scene, and after that he was rushed right to the hospital. So we definitely want to send our love and encouragement to the Hamlin family, and I know they're glad that Damar is conscious again. So um our mission here at the Ethel Lee Zachary Foundation is to cultivate and educate inner city youth, you know, through culture and academics, like I just said. We want to give these youth the sense that they can see a brighter future. It's not everybody, it's a select few, opposed to what they see on the inner city, what they see on the inner city streets. So we definitely that's our target. You know what I mean? We want more individuals to be in the same position as Damar Hamlin. I mean, not with the injury, but just to be in the NFL period. You know what I mean? To have the opportunity to have a brighter future. We want more kids going to college opposed to prison. You know what I mean? So we definitely want these kids to see that, excuse me, education and culture can take you a long way. So that's why we brought on Dr. Asante, so he can, give us some insight in regards to culture and, how it can effectively help inner city youth. Um, excuse me. Also, we've been planning for we're having our second annual youth summit. So we're now talking with the people at the people for the venue. We're trying to have it at the same location, ProAct. So and talks with them, so we can hopefully have the summit there. The theme for the summit is never gave up hope, because like I just said, I want these youth to see that hope is the key that they have to keep moving forward. You know what I mean? If it wasn't for hope, you know what I mean, we may not have a DeMar Hamlin. You know what I mean? If it wasn't for hope, we may not have a President Barack Obama. Hope can accomplish a lot of things in life. You just got to have it. You know what I mean? It's faith. If you don't have faith that things will come to pass, if you don't believe in God, then your road might be a little rough. So at least have hope. Believe in God. Well, let me pray right fast. So, Father God, I thank you for this show. I thank you for this opportunity. I definitely thank you for my staff. They do an abundance of work definitely out of the kindness of their heart. So I thank them for that. And I thank you for the inner city youth, the urban community. And I thank you for just keeping your hand on me and, leading me in the strive that I have to become a better leader for this foundation. In your most holy name, I pray. Amen. So, what was that? So like I said, the summit, the theme is never gave up hope. So we're like I said, in talks now with the people at the venue, and we're trying to see if we can get Purple Blackwell. I believe we got a confirmation from her. That's actually Janie Blackwell's granddaughter. Who else was I trying to get? There's some other folks in. I guess you got to come to it and find out. So, hope you guys had a good New Year. So happy New Year. You know what I mean? Your New Year's resolutions. Try to make sure you stick with those, and you can make it through. You can make it through your New Year's resolutions. Depending on what it is. I think for my resolution, I'm going to be more focused on moving forward. I'm not going to focus on the things from the past and, things that don't matter, things of that such. So I definitely want to have my vision, at my own personal vision of moving forward, so that I'm not hindered from anything that may, come my way. And I think that's important for me, because you can't really move forward if you too busy looking back. You know what I mean? So I would definitely want to, stick with that resolution. And there's a lot of folks that have different resolutions, like I want to lose weight or stop cussing or, save up some money or whatever like that. So I guess whatever your New Year's resolution is, you try to stick with that. There was something else I wanted to mention. I can't remember off the top of my head. What was it? Oh yeah. So we're having the youth focus group. So the youth focus group is going to be January 21st. And I believe that's a Saturday, if I'm not mistaken. Let me check the date. And the 21st. Yeah, that's a Saturday at 2:00. It's virtual. And the whole purpose of the group is to have these youth express their feelings in regards to effective and ineffective parenting. Not to shame any parents, but we want these parents to see, like, hey, like, I'm messing up in this area, or I could have done better in this field, or whatever the case may be. You know what I mean? Because the for us to help these youth effectively, we have to have more effective parents. So that's just number one. Because I can give them all the information along with these mentors and whatever programs and events that we have, and that ain't gonna mean the hill of beans if they home life not right. If they don't have parents that's going to properly support them. You know what I mean? So I think that's very important. You have to support your kids and their lives. I mean, it's their turn now. You know what I mean? Even if you young and you had a kid, if you 16 and you had a baby, keep going through school, but then you still gotta focus on that child, because that baby ain't gonna be an infant no more, and you ain't gonna be in school forever. You know what I mean? So even if you decide to get your doctorate degree, or whatever path you decide to take, you still have to focus on that. You still have to focus on your baby. You know what I mean? So because your children are one of the most important assets as a parent. So I don't want you guys to think that once they become 18, they out the door. Like, it don't work like that. So well, we waiting for Dr. Asante now. So as soon as he comes up, we'll bring him on. But that's something that, like, society has planted, this whole 18-year-old thing. When your child becomes 18, they're not an adult or grown. They're just legally an adult. They can sign a contract, they can get married, things like that. So without further ado, we're going to bring on Dr. Asante, and he's going to educate us in regards to the importance of culture and inner city youth.
Hey,
Dr. Asante.
hey, thank you so much, Brother Amen Hotep Parker the Sixth. You are a really phenomenal individual, and I just want to thank you for really carrying on a tradition that's
Mm-hmm.
been so powerful in our community. We have thousands of people throughout the country, uh, just like you, who's been working in the community and helping our youth. But the foundation that you work with is just a powerful representation of
Mm-hmm.
who we are and what we can be as people. And I am very proud of you and very thankful to your organization, to your fine staff. I've spoken for you guys physically, been in the presence of
Yes, man.
situation, and I really appreciate you for everything you're doing for our youth. I want to start with that and say that I'm no longer the chair of the department at
Oh, okay.
I am a professor, but I've served for 27 years as chair, so that's about enough. So, but I am a professor, and I am still writing my 100th book.
Oh, that's good.
Just been published, and I am now writing four additional books,
Is
which
that the I don't have
being human being, being human being was the
Yeah, you gave me that book. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
that's
yeah,
right. That's
yeah,
right.
yeah,
So now, so as you know, and as uh, the people may know from listening to you, I am a student of culture, and I am a student of our community, not just locally, but nationally and internationally. And I've traveled to many places looking at Black people's conditions, our conditions in Colombia, in Brazil, Costa Rica. I've been all over Mexico, wherever Black people are gathered. in Africa, in Europe, Paris, and London, Norway, where there is a black population. I've seen our people and our condition, our children's condition. And let me just tell you, it's the same everywhere. So there's a problem. If it's the same everywhere, and we are fighting against the same issues and the same problems, then we have to find what is the collective solution. Because the
Mhm.
solution for one group will be a solution for other groups. In other words, if we could solve the problem of our children in Philadelphia, then we can perhaps use that model elsewhere. And there are models that are being used. I don't want to give the impression that we are not doing anything, because we are, because you are, and your foundation is doing things. So you sometimes when we talk, it seems like we're talking like we're not doing anything and we're so sad. No, 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 no. A lot of people are doing a lot of things. That's good.
Right.
I always say this about culture and young people is that culture is sometimes misunderstood. Sometimes we think culture is just music and dance and art. Those are parts of culture. But
Mhm.
but the real culture of things are deeper than that. And it comes through understanding history and education and the transmission of our history and our education through what we call our contemporary pop culture and our
Mhm.
popular culture. You see, but you got to have some background. It's just like I know in my family some young people who consider themselves rappers, right? But because they have not read very much, they don't have much to go on, even though they have the talent for rhythm and for rhyming. They
Mhm.
don't necessarily have the depth that comes with knowing your own history, because then you put
Okay.
your own history and your own culture in your rhythm and in your rhyming. It makes it much more powerful, and you become a much more effective person if you can just combine that. But what you're combining is, again, the popular notion that you have, the form that you have, with the substance that you get from studying your culture. So I always go back to this point because I'm an Afrocentrist. I believe this. That means putting Africa at the center of what we do, how we think, how we act. If we don't put Africa at the center, we always lost. And the reason we are lost is because the other things are not created for us. They're not made for us. We can adapt, we can learn, but they are not necessarily the things that give us the substance to be who we are. For example, when the African people, when we were first brought to the Americas, we were brought here against our wills. But not only were we brought here against our wills, we were separated from the elders and the wise people who gave us knowledge of ourselves. So if you're separated like we were in the United States for 246 years, we were separated from the knowledge that made us the Africans that we were. So that really sort of disoriented us. I think this disorientation is what we see with our young people. So when you see your young people, you say to yourself, how can I bring them back to understand how great they are, who they are, where they came from, how significant they can be in the world? And the way to do that, of course, is that we have to go and reconstruct culture. See, culture, a definition for culture is that it is the transmission of the traditions and the customs and the rituals of a population down to another generation. That's what you do. You all the rituals, all the knowledge we have, we pass it on. Now, the interesting thing about African Americans is that because our culture was broken with the enslavement and with segregation and with discrimination and all of that, we have often had to reconstruct culture or find roots in the African tradition that we can use for our young people to bring them back. There was a big movement about 20 years ago, maybe 30 years ago now, and I think it sort of died down. It was called the Rites of Passage movement. And I'm not sure, Brother Parker, whether or not you guys have a rites of passage for young people, but that's something that you ought to consider. The Rites of Passage program was based on the ancient programs in Africa, where when people got to puberty, what they had to do was to go through certain rituals, but the rituals allowed them to recenter themselves, and most people do this. If you look at the uh, for example, the Jewish community, they have bar mitzvahs, for example.
Mm-hmm.
What are those? That's passing down culture. That's passing down ritual. That's saying once you have mastered some information and some knowledge, and you can repeat that knowledge and information, then you have an understanding of your history and culture. You have to be a better person. You see, what we lost that, but we got it back for a while in the 70s and 80s, and then we lost it again. I don't see, for example, many youth programs that have rites of passages anymore. But we used to have these rituals of passage. And what we would say is that you spend a year studying your history, and you study the values, the African values, and then at a certain time you have a graduation where you have to stand up and answer questions. Who are you? Where did your people come from? Who are the great women in your tradition? Who are the great men in your tradition? What events have made you a major and mighty people? And so the children answer those questions. And
Mm-hmm.
then that shows that they have absorbed the knowledge. And then we claim for them that they have now been initiated as true, strong, young African American persons able to work in their communities, their societies, their cities, their states, and for the world. That's a whole different thing. But that's where culture comes in. And what that does, it grounds them. It holds them in a tradition, you see. And what we did in those days, we also use African languages. Like, most people heard the word Sankofa, meaning return and retrieve it. Go back and get your knowledge. Go back and get it. Sankofa. We have institutions called Sankofa, schools called Sankofa, because Sankofa is an African word that comes from the Akan language that we have just applied now to our rites of passages and to our young people who are bringing culture. So I think that cultural information and cultural values are critically important. For example, one of the great things that we have in our history is that character is perhaps the most important thing. And I've said this over and over, that the most important thing for the African people is your character. Your character, it defines everything. Your character defines love, relationships. It defines, your energy for business and work, and for doing the best and being excellent. All those things come from good character. And the Yoruba people, which is a major people in Africa, and one of the ethnic groups, when I did my DNA, it says that my father's people came from the Yoruba people. The Yoruba people say that good character is what God requires. That you God doesn't require education. God doesn't require you to have money. God requires you to have good character. And if you have good character, you are on the road to passing down that cultural value to children and to other people. So that's why I am mostly engaged and working very hard to pass culture from one population to the next. And I hope that this gives you and your audience and your staff some people some strength to say, okay, we can do this. Dr. Karenga, who we often mention, Dr. Maulana Karenga, tried to do this with Kwanzaa. That's why we just had the Kwanzaa celebrations. Because,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm president of the Molefi Kete Asante Institute at 5535 Germantown Avenue. And we have once a month, we have lectures. We're going to have one on Sunday, January the 22nd at 4 o'clock. And it's going to be on the blackness of the ancient Egyptians. We
Mm-hmm.
do this because some of our people don't know that the ancient Egyptians who built the pyramids were black people. They were black skinned people. So now our children began to understand that. They have a sense of, again, who they are. Dr. Karenga calls this reconstructing the culture that we lost when they brought us here on the slave ships. So
Mm-hmm.
that's the thing that I'm happy about that your foundation can do.
Oh, I definitely appreciate that. Now, when did you say that event was again?
January 22nd at 4 o'clock
Oh,
at
okay.
the Malefic Hetty Asante Institute. And
Now, if you
it's
got
also
any,
on YouTube. It's on YouTube. It's streamed on YouTube at
mm-hmm.
4 o'clock the same time. You just have to look for Molefi Kete Asante Institute lectures, and
Okay.
it's a live stream at 4 o'clock.
Now, if you got any literature or anything, we'll put it on the foundation's Facebook page or
All
even
right.
my page,
I
just to
appreciate that. Thank
help you to promote that there. So, as a child, like, how did you discover your own culture?
you. Well, as a child, I didn't know very much about my own culture, to be honest with you. I came
Mm-hmm.
from a family of 16, 15 brothers and sisters, and myself, 16 of us. And my family was a sort of a peasant family. I grew up in Georgia, in the south of Georgia. And I grew up with my parents were technically Christians, but the children went to church, but they didn't. But it was a very interesting thing that through working as a very young person at 11 years old, working in the cotton fields and the tobacco fields, I learned to think that there had to be some history before this for Black people. I just couldn't understand how our condition was such that we didn't understand. We were in a situation where we were segregated, discriminated, persecuted by people who were no smarter than we were, and certainly no more beautiful than we were. So I
Mm-hmm.
began at a very young age of searching for history. I didn't search for culture because I thought we had our culture. Our
Mm-hmm.
culture was Southern Georgia Ebonics culture. My mother never spoke English. She only spoke Ebonics. Our community spoke Ebonics. We all understood her. And I grew up speaking Ebonics. It was a hard time for me. It was a long time before I thought that I could speak English because English was not my first language. My first language that I heard as a baby was the language of my mother, which was pure Ebonics. And some people still today think that I speak some Ebonics from time to time. And from time to time I do, because it was the cadence, the rhythm of that language that was appealing to me. And even now, I think that I didn't realize that it was culture. You see, I just knew that that's the way Black people speak. That's our language. You see, if I say I'm fixed to go, I mean some people understood fixed to go, but some people didn't understand it. But it was a part of our character. If you asked me before, I might have could. This was all the syntax and structure of how we used our language. Our language was beautiful, and it is beautiful. It's the most beautiful language I ever heard. So
Mm-hmm.
part of what happened is that sometimes we don't even know that we're losing culture. People say, "Oh, you get rid of that language. That's just bad English." No, it wasn't bad English. We didn't even try to speak English. It wasn't like we were speaking English and we made a mistake. It was our community language. It was what my people taught. So, and my people spoke, I should say. So basically, I learned very early that there was something different. I didn't know what, because my parents were not educated to that extent. My mother went to the third grade, my father went to the sixth grade. So they didn't know a lot, but they heard something. So my father would say to me, he would talk to me, well, you know, there was a great man down in Haiti named Toussaint Louverture. So he knew about Toussaint Louverture. He knew about Joe Louis. You see, because these were the people. You know, these were the people of the day. You know, and Jesse Owens. He knew about those people. Those were Jackie Robinson. Those were the people that we knew about, but we didn't know ancient African history and ancient African culture. No one ever taught us that. They didn't want you to know that. They didn't want you to understand that we built the pyramids. They didn't want you to understand that Africans were responsible for the temples that was strewn all along both sides of the Nile River in Nubia, and that in Kemet in Egypt, that the canals that were built to the Red Sea, that the great churches of Lalibela in Ethiopia that were carved out of solid stone into the to the earth, that these things were the engineering feats of great African. No, they didn't want us to know that. And we didn't know that as children. It was only till I got to college. I was at college at UCLA, and they were on the way to making me a very good white boy by the knowledge that they were giving me, because they never gave me any African knowledge. So
Mhm.
what are they trying to do then? They it's not that they deliberately tried to do it. They just didn't know African history and culture. They didn't know anything about us, and so it had to be through the Black Studies movement at UCLA that I gained my consciousness. And I always praise the students in Black Studies, and we were not even in Black Studies. We went there to study English and communication and political science and sociology, but we ended up creating a whole field of study ourselves called Black Studies, and
Mhm.
that was the rise of our consciousness in the 1960s.
Now you mentioned the language Ebonics. Could you
Yes.
you know give a definition on it?
Yeah, Ebonics is the language that is spoken by the African American community in mainly in the South, but it is also understood by African Americans almost anywhere in the country. Mm,
Hmm.
Even now, most African Americans may not speak it, but they understand it. I mean, so much so that you can figure it out. That's why I use the word "I'm fixed to go." Someone say, "I'm fixed to go." You may not say, you may say, I'm getting ready to go, but the Ebonics speaker says, I'm fixed to go. But if they say, I'm fixed to go, even if you never use that language, you understand what they mean. That's why we say it's universally understood by most Black people. Some Black people say, "Oh no, I don't speak it. I don't know what." No, but it is the language that is at the heart of our early communities, and that's what we spoke. And it has English words in it and English vocabulary, but having English words and vocabulary doesn't make a language. A
Right.
language, a language has to be something that is almost normally understood by a community of people who speak it, and the rules to them are natural. It's almost like it doesn't mean that we don't use words from other languages, because like in English, we use words that come from French. We use chauffeur, we use uh, présence. You use a lot of words that come from the French language or the Latin language in English, but English is not a French language. It
Uh-huh.
uses French words. It uses Latin words. It was not a Latin language, but it used Latin words. And in fact, someone says 40% of the words in English come from Latin. You see, but it's not a Latin language, because language also involves pronunciation, that is tonal quality. If I say, if I say, and you know this as a religious man, we were walking down the streets and I heard the voice of Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know in English that I'm saying Jesus,
Right.
but the English speaker doesn't say it like that.
Right. Right. Right.
That's the Ebonics way. Jesus. Well, that's the tonal quality that comes from Africa. That's why we do it that way. We don't even realize where it comes from. You see what I'm saying? So our language is not just the words themselves, but it's how the words are pronounced. But it's not just how the words are pronounced, it's also the structure of the language, how the language is structured. You see, that's why I used the expression earlier before. When someone says, I might have could. I might have
Uh-huh.
could is not an English expression, you see? That's it, but it's an Ebonics expression. So all of this is because we created something in order to respond to our condition as a segregated people and a people in our own communities. You see, we combined some words that were English with some words that were Africans, like gooba nuts for peanuts. The word gooba is an African word. The word okay is a Senegalese word from Senegal. So
Mm-hmm.
those are all okay, gooba nuts. All this is a combination of things that create our cultural gifts to the American society. So
Now,
I think our youth will be fine if we just remind them that they come from a great culture. That what they see around them is just the evidence of the current conditions, but that our people are great people, and our condition is created by the economic and the political situations that have happened in the country where we live, but it is no reflection of us. And that is the thing that we have to make sure.
now,
Okay?
that, this is the last question here. Um, so when I started Temple, and I studied. I mean, I came across the department from
Yes.
an elective. I think it was a Maxwell Stafford or
Yes, of
something
course.
like that.
Stanford. Mhm.
Right. And I decided to take it on as a second major.
Mhm.
So with the information that I was collecting, and receiving from the department, I wanted to share that with my children.
Mhm.
How important is it that parents teach culture to their children?
It is the most important thing that they can do, because you see, if we start, and the earlier we start, the better. I was at a disadvantage because my parents didn't know. You are a parent, you know something. You are in a way a person who's been exposed to things. You can share with your children information from books. They now even have children books with information about African history and culture. You can point things out to them as they grow up that are African. You can teach them to learn to be as strong and powerful as the Zulu nation. That was one of the great martial nations in the world. There are all kinds of things that you can do. And you as a photographer, I remember you as a photographer. There's a great photographer named Chester Higgins. He's a brother in New York who has done these incredible books on Africa, on just African people, the beauty of African people. He's traveled. He got grants to travel all over Africa to do pictures of the rivers of Africa, the mountains of Africa. Africa itself is the most beautiful continent. So it's all these things that help our children and give us direction, you see. So thank you so much, my brother, for what you give to us and for our children and our community. And I'm very happy to have spent these few minutes with you.
I mean, if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be doing this. So
You are much too kind, but because you are very, you are. That's why I say there's so many people that sometimes don't get the credit they deserve, like yourself.
right.
But you will, and by helping one or two or 20 or 30 of these children, it's a memory and it's a great thing for them. And I
Yeah, I
appreciate it.
appreciate that. And
All
I
right, all
definitely
blessings
thank
to you.
you for coming on. Hopefully we can have you again. And
Yes. All right.
thank you, sir.
All right, sir. All blessings to you
All
and
right,
to the
take care.
foundation.
All right,
Thank
thanks again, Doc.
All right, sir. Thank you very much. Bye bye.
Bye bye. Well, that was Dr. Molefi Asante. I have to be corrected. He's a professor now at Temple University, still working in the African American Studies Department. Um, like I was just telling him, if it wasn't for the the department there at Temple, you guys probably wouldn't be seeing my face right now because I probably wouldn't have the drive or the ambition that I have today to help these children. As I was, explaining to Dr. Asante, the information that I learned, I taught it to my children. I would walk them to school, when they all went to mastery, and I would teach them things such as Kemet and um excuse me, uh I'm drawing a blank. Mary Church Terrell, uh Kwame True. I teach them things about Ram, the different organizations like the Black Panther Party, the breakfast program they had for children. You know what I mean? So they had uh, um hold on a second. So they had, insight of where they came from. And it worked so well for them that, when they did African American presentations in school, they was ahead of the game. Other kids was talking about Malcolm X and uh, um, uh, Dr. Martin Luther King and Rosa Parks. They was talking about Stokely Carmichael and Madam C.J. Walker. A. Philip Randolph, and that was just from information that I gave them. You know what I mean? So it's very important that you teach your kids about culture because it helps them to have a sense of identity for who they are as a person. You know what I mean? Like I said, if I never took up the major at Temple, it's a high probability you wouldn't be seeing my face right now. You know what I mean? Because I may not have the drive or the desire to help my own people because I know that there is a greater path for them to, embark on. You know what I mean? So, Dr. Asante is a river of knowledge, in regards to African American studies. You know what I mean? So I was very fortunate to have him twice, well, three times. So we did I think we did a video um when we first started the foundation. It was called What's Going On, Black City Under Siege. So we did the video in recognition of George Floyd's death and the riots that the black community had done within itself. So I brought some people on to, talk about how wrong this was, how we need to come up as a people. And he was one of the speakers there. And like he said, he came to the youth summit. Um, Next week we will be interviewing, let me see here. Hold it. I'm trying to get this thing right. You can tell I ain't got all this sophisticated equipment yet. So, bam. So we'll be interviewing Larnett Albury. Larnett will be giving us information in regards to a journey that she shared with her mom. Her mom passed away from cancer, breast cancer, and Larnett started this journey on Facebook. Um, I think it was the second bout that her mom had with cancer, and Larnett started to go live with the second progression of the cancer returning, and she's going to tell us her story in regards to that. Um, Excellent young lady. I met her when I first joined Victory. Her and her family, the Alburys, wonderful family. Shout out to their dad, Pastor Albury, to their brother Lawrence, and she'll be on next week. Before we close out the show, we also try to recognize children for their birthdays, and we definitely have another one today. So today's birthday is bam right there. So that is Sierra Lynn Gathers. I frantically called her mom today and said, why I'm calling. I saw her birthday on Facebook, so let me give her a shout out today. So hopefully, Sierra is watching, and I just want you to know that we at the Ethel Lee Zachary Foundation, we just want to wish you a happy birthday, and we honor you today. You know what I mean? We want you to be one of the next Black icons that maybe we can interview you if you let us. But definitely happy birthday today. I hope you had a wonderful time and many, many more to come. Once again, I want to thank the people that do come out and check out the show. If you guys want to donate, it is Cash App, the $ELZFDN. All your money goes towards the mission of the foundation. Excuse me. Which is to cultivate and educate inner city youth, to give them the possibility, to let them see that they have the hope for a brighter future, to give them the hope to have a brighter future, that they can have a brighter future. And that's what I'm trying to say. Also on Facebook, we have the Parenting Forum. Like I said, we can say whatever we want to these kids. We can say, hey, you got hope to be the next president or the next NASCAR driver, open your business. But if they come from a dysfunctional family, or if it's any type of trauma in the home, then they may not, they're not trying to listen to me or anybody on the staff. They ain't trying to. Jesus Christ could come down right in front of them and be like, there's a bucket of gold over there. But that's going to go right over their head because they're having trauma at home. You know what I mean? And I had to realize that I can't reach these children if they're not being properly parented. And besides everything I just said, it could be a simple thing like their parents just said, well, you're not going no more. And whatever he said or they said, as far as the organization, you better forget it. And I'm not saying that that's every household, because I'm not saying that all inner city youth are bad. And I'm not even saying that any of them are bad or that they had bad parents, but it's some of them that do have bad parents. You know what I mean? There's some of them that do need direction. You know what I mean? Is we wake up and we see the news and, we hear about the shootings and the murders and things like that. I was coming home while I was driving from doing Uber, and a billboard, I think it was on Gray's Ferry, and it showed this young man's picture. He couldn't have been no more than like his early 20s, wanted by the FBI. And the thing that had me the most about this was he looked like he was from the hood. His hair was all over the place. He had a t-shirt on. And I'm not trying to, I ain't judging nobody, but that's what I seen. You understand what I'm saying? That ain't judging if I'm describing something. You know what I mean? And it was just sad. You know what I mean? I ain't trying to say if he had a suit on, it would have been a better situation. He shouldn't have been on there at all. But it's just the conditioning that we have. We don't know our culture. You know what I mean? We so fast to succumb to society. Whatever society says, we like, yes, like society is like the slave master, and we still slaves. Whatever society say, we like, yes, boss. You know, we'll go with that. You know what I mean? So we definitely don't want that to be, the case for any of us. So I just want to thank you guys. Oh, and if you guys need any information in regards to parenting, any of the events that we have coming up, just email us at elzfnd@outlook.com, and we'll definitely, get back to you with any information that you need. If you want to be a sponsor, same thing. You can, cash app us, or like I just said, I just gave you the email, so you could do both. You can write in regards to being a sponsor. Well, that's it for me. I thank you guys for coming out. Let me see if there's any questions here. Not at all. And I love y'all. I truly do. Um, like I said with Dr. Asante, he gave me that department, those teachers gave me the drive to want to sit in front of you guys. I mean, there's other folks. I mean, like Dr. Proctor, Dr. Ellis, Mom Rudd, uh, my own mother, my own kids. You know what I mean? Like it's an array of people that's helped me to be where I'm at right now. So the Ethel Lee Zachary Foundation isn't just in the inspiration of one woman. It's from the collaborative effort of building her son up so he can make this foundation. Thank you very much. God bless and good night.